Not on this race day.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jim Brumfield with Chevrolet Racing Communications. As you probably know, Chevrolet has a long history at this track. It dates back to 1911 when a gentleman named Louis Chevrolet raced in the first 500-mile race here. Chevrolet also has a long tradition of pacing races here, 26 times dating back to 1948. The Corvette Z06, which will be the pace car for this year's race, is the 13th Corvette to pace the field here. It's more than up to the task. Its LT4 supercharged 6.2-liter V8 engine produces 650 horsepower. Our pace car driver, too, is more than up to the task. He has 5 Brickyard 400 victories here, including one in the first stock car race ever held on these grounds. 4 NASCAR championships, 92 victories. Jeff Gordon. Jeff, welcome to Indianapolis.
Yeah, thank you. What a thrill it is to be here on race day. I mean, I certainly had plenty of opportunities to make laps around this track before, but never have I had the experience that I'm having here today to be honored as being the pace car driver, to get the chance to drive that amazing Corvette Z06, which I've had a chance to make a couple laps around here a few weeks ago, and it's certainly up to the task. And then I get to hang out with my buddy Johnny Rutherford. I got a chance to meet my all-time hero Rick Mears earlier today, so it has been a thrill already, and I can't wait to get out there, get behind the wheel. My family's with me as well, experiencing this, so it's already a great start to the day. I can't wait to pace them to the green flag and hopefully do everything right that Johnny tells me to do, and the hardest thing is going to be getting out of the driver's seat of that car. It's such a great car. I want to take it home with me, and it's going to be hard to leave the Indy 500, but certainly have a lot to do in Charlotte this evening as well.
I guess a good place to start would be at the very beginning. What was your reaction when you first heard that you had this opportunity?
Yeah, my stepdad called me, John Bickford, who handles a lot of my business affairs, and he said, "I hope you're sitting down. I've got one that's pretty big for you." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" And he said, "Well, I got a call from Chevrolet in Indianapolis, and they want you to drive the pace car for the Indy 500." And I was floored. I didn't believe it. I was like, me, and I just knowing this race, its history, as a kid growing up watching this race and remembering, seeing that pace car pace the field and knowing there was always somebody very special behind the wheel. I never pictured myself as being one of those individuals. So immediately after that, my thought went to, how do I make this happen? How do we make sure that this happens? And luckily, with a lot of hard work and cooperation from our sponsors and Rick Hendrick and everybody, we were able to make it work. And I'm so glad I did. I would not have wanted to miss this for anything.
I've got one more question, then we'll open it up to the floor. In your career, you have almost 80 poles, which means you've started a lot of races directly behind the pace car driver. What have you learned being on that side of the pace car driver that you're going to try to apply today? Yeah,
and being on the front row that many times, I've seen some bad pace car drivers. So I want to make sure I'm certainly not one of those. I think the biggest thing for me is stock cars have a certain pace and a certain type of transmission that we're able to run about any speed fairly easily, slower speeds. These cars, from what I understand, are not quite like that. They're more temperamental when it comes to their clutch and their transmission in pace laps. So, for me, the biggest thing is going to be making sure that I get them up to speed properly, keep them at that speed, maintain that speed, and then accelerate it at the right time to make sure I build enough of a gap as they come around turn 4, but not too much where I'm still in the photo when they go by. So.
All right, questions for Jeff Gordon. We've got a microphone. Please state your name and your affiliation. Wolfgang?
Jeff, 2 questions for you. Wolfgang Monzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Sitting now in the pace car, did you have a talk with the front row drivers? What's important for them? What you have to do in the pace car during the pace lap? And question number 2, how you beat this logistical challenge to go from here to Charlotte in time?
So I'm going to talk to some of the drivers when I see them before driver intros to ask them, if there's anything specific that they want. But Johnny Rutherford's a pro. He does this, all the time, and I'll be turning it over to him after I get out, and so he'll walk me through it. So the thing is, I drove the car, and the car is such an amazing, fun car to drive that I feel very confident in the driving aspect of things, and I'm pretty good at following the rules most of the time. As far as getting back to Charlotte, I mean, we've seen guys compete in this race and still make it to Charlotte. Now, you give up your starting position, which I certainly didn't want to do. So I'll probably watch, a couple laps. Like I mentioned, I have my wife and kids here. I want to see how fast these cars go through the corner, which I think is very cool. I actually took my son to Pocono a couple years ago, so and he got to see some Indy cars at the hotel when we checked in. So he's all excited about that. So I want them to be able to at least see a few laps. Unfortunately, we can't stay any longer. We'll just head straight to the airport, take off, and I'll make it in plenty of time to make the drivers' meeting.
Dave?
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Jeff, how have you gotten this far in your career and not met Rick Mears before?
No, I've met Rick.
Oh, okay.
No, I've met him, but I got to hang out with him on race day at the Indy 500. I think that's a little cooler than just meeting him.
Every bit as cool as he seems to the rest of us.
Oh my gosh! What I love. There's nothing better than when you look at somebody through a TV or from reading about them, and you decide that they're going to be your hero, and then when you meet them, they live up to those expectations and even exceed them. And Rick is one of those kind of guys.
Bruce?
Jeff, I know that you've said as a boy growing up in Pittsburgh, your dream was to start the Indianapolis 500. In some ways, do you feel that this is starting the Indianapolis 500?
I guess in a way, yes. In some ways, it's even greater. To be honored as the pace car driver. It's just kind of blowing me away right now that this whole experience is happening. This whole year has just been incredible. From the fan interaction, racetracks, this phone call, and this moment. This is a very, very special year. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that one thing that maybe I feel like I've accomplished more than I ever expected or hoped to in racing. But the one thing that kind of did elude me and that we pursued, I say we, my dad and my mom and myself, when we were trying to go to that next level, was getting a chance to race here in the Indianapolis 500. I've said this many times, and I still believe it. Winning the inaugural Brickyard 400 to me fulfilled that dream, and now I've had a chance to win it 4 more times. This is a special place to me. I love getting a chance to race here, but would I have liked to have at least run one Indy 500 and know what it was like? Sure, I would have. It won't be happening, but I would have liked to have known what that was like. But as far as just being honored to a whole nother level, this today is it.
What can you do next year?
Because I'll be in the Fox booth next year. Oh, yeah.
Over here to the right.
I'm so glad that deal worked out because I wouldn't have a better excuse for you.
Jeff, George Montgomery, Fox Sports Radio. You've talked about, of course, you're not going to be driving next year full time, but have you picked the races you might drive part time, and would Indianapolis be one of them? Yeah, the way I set that up is because I've known too many drivers that I respect and have raced with that said, okay, I'm retiring, I'm stepping away, and then they come back and then I'm not quite ready, I want to run a few more races, that's why I didn't say this is my final year of ever competing, for a single event. But it really, truly is. It really is. And as I get further into the year, as things start to come together, I don't see myself doing any races. If I do a race, maybe a Martinsville, or a short track. There's so much that goes into preparing a car and a team at Hendrick Motorsports, which is the only car that I would ever do it with, and team.
and I just don't. That would take away from their performance. Why would I really be doing it? I'll be in the booth. I'm going to fulfill my desire to be a part of the sport by being in the booth, and I can go do some racing with my kids, hopefully, and some other ways. So I don't plan on doing any races. I have no set plans to do any after Homestead.
Oh, over here.
Yeah, Tim May, Columbus Dispatch. Jeff, have you ever been, I'm trying to remember, have you ever actually driven an Indy car in any kind of form or fashion? And number two, what intrigues you about an Indy car?
Yeah, no, I drove the Formula One car here, which is probably the closest thing. I remember when I was living in Indiana, pursuing other types of racing, and IndyCar was on the radar. I drove a Super V out at IRP on their road course. I went to several IndyCar races to be introduced to car owners and drivers and try to get my foot in the door there. And NASCAR was meant to be for me. It just was. I knocked on a lot of doors. It didn't happen within IndyCar. I went down south, and things immediately started to happen. It just was meant to be.
And what intrigues you about these cars?
Oh my God! I mean, they're cool. They're fast. The grip level that they have and the speed that they carry through the corners. When you think of ultimate in race cars, you think of Formula One cars and Indy cars.
Time for one more question. Over here.
NASCAR, we put on a great show, and the cars are fun, and they're very powerful, and I love driving them on the high bank ovals that we race on. But it's completely different than driving. What driving that Formula One car was certainly like.
Zach Catanzarelli, Weapons Racing. You mentioned the Formula One car, driving that and doing that with Juan Pablo Montoya. You've done a lot here at Indianapolis. It's a special place to you. How's that stack up with everything else that you've done? Driving that car, going that fast? Yeah, I think as far as the experience of just driving a car in I don't even know if I can really put it into perspective. I drive race cars all the time, but it's more for the competition. It's not for the thrill of what the car can do and the speed and the grip level. That day I drove that Formula One car, that's what it was all about, and I got to feel the ultimate in what a car is capable of doing, which blew my mind. I didn't think a car was capable of doing what that car did, because I'd never driven anything like it that slowed down that fast, accelerated that fast, it stuck in the corners like that. That gave you the feedback in the wheel that car gave. And I honestly, I've said ever since then that I've never experienced the thrill of a car like in any other experience like I did that day.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Enjoy your day, and good luck tonight in Charlotte.
Yeah, thank you. Except for the Z06 today.